Now, champions of innovation hold the key to survival, especially with companies in a rapidly changing digital age. Consider this, the last 10 years have given us the development of pretty much life-changing apps from WhatsApp to Uber to Instagram. Nikki Summers, the Regional Director for Sage in East Africa, says a digital tech revolution will transform how we live and work for the next decade. She's in Nairobi for the IDC-CIO Summit, and in fact, she joins me in studio right now. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
Okay, so innovation, I don't think there's a week in this particular station where we actually don't run a story about innovation. But then you look at patent figures coming out of Africa. South Africa had about, I believe, 800 or so, Kenya about 137 in 2015. There's the talk about innovation, but when it comes to patents, and I admit I'm using a small measure here, when you look at patents, there's not much going on. So is it a case of more hype than fact?
I definitely have to say it's definitely not more hype than fact. I mean, if we have a look over the last year, Kenya tech startups gained more than 4.7 billion shillings in terms of investment from various investment calls. And I think we need to consider where we are in the phase of innovation. Just as in any phase, you've got your startup, then you go into a growth phase, maturity, and then obviously saturation. And I believe specifically in Kenya, we're in a period where it is in that infancy stage gone into a growth stage where we've laid the platforms for innovation to happen. I mean, if we just have a look, and I think we don't celebrate innovation enough as we should, if we have a look at just M-Pesa, that has been a platform now that has been set for other service providers to go and innovate on that platform.
Right. Just a quick follow-up on that particular story. When it comes to the question of experimentation with new ideas, that part of the problem with corporate culture at the moment is that companies are so scared of trying out new ideas, right? You try something, the risk of failure, the cost of failure is more often than not deemed as unacceptable by guys at C-suite level. Yet, if we don't experiment, we lose out in the long run. So how do we fix that problem? How do you embrace failure?
So I don't think it's necessarily embracing failure and creating a culture of failure. It's more creating a culture where individuals are allowed to experiment. But in that, it has to be the fail fast, recover quickly. And that's what has to happen. And in terms of that, we're seeing more and more of that happening. And I think the biggest risk for a business right now is not experimenting and not seeing, how they can quickly recover. I mean, if we have a look at the Kodaks of the world, they didn't experiment and they failed dismally. I mean, they've been taken, no one even knows who Kodak is anymore.
Well, actually, if you ask my siblings and they're like, yay, hi, they have no idea what a Kodak is.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think the biggest risk for businesses right now is not taking that risk. The guarantee for them to survive is how quickly can they recover from that risk.
But then what exactly is it that stops executives, at least especially within the African context, from experimenting? Because the stats are fairly clear. This has got the most youthful population in the world. We've seen what runaway products like M-Pesa can do. So if you're sitting, say, as a bank manager, as a transportation manager, you literally have absolutely no excuse to not say, you know what, we need to experiment or we're going to die. We're not going to be here in 10 years.
I think it goes hand in hand with a number of things, and I think one of the biggest things is skills development. Because if you think about it, if you're going to fail, you need to have those skills to recover quickly. So we are so bent on the traditional of annual training or quarterly training, whereas to become a company that is enabling people to experiment, training should become a culture within the organization. There should be constant learning. It should be part of your daily activity. And I think that is where you will start seeing the change. And it's not necessarily just a technology skills in the company. It could also be the leader at the top not being that individual that encourages change. They're quite comfortable in their cocoon where they live and what the business is doing, and stepping outside of that border is too scary. So sometimes it's a people problem too at the top.
All right, well, we'll have to leave it there for the time being, but Nikki, thank you very much for telling us to get out of our cocoon. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.